So good morning, everyone. Good morning, all my mentors, and good morning to all the participants out here. And with this course, seminar and critical writing, and we were given various topics initially. We were exposed to ontology, metaphysics, epistemology, and then we were asked to write on a certain subject. And then I thought, why not write about something which is the source of knowledge itself. And so I chose to write on the topic mind, and it gave me a very good opportunity because I was not a student of neuroscience, or I was not a student of psychology. So I thought exploring this new genre will be really exciting for me. And so I started reading, but while reading, I found that the reading itself is like it's so vast and there is no end. So whatever I could, I just summed it up in a short presentation. So it all began. So when I started reading, I came across a story about American construction worker called Phineas Gage. So it so happened that in one of a misfortunate incident, Phineas Gage was struck by an iron rod, and this rod burst through his head from one end to the other. And but miraculously, what happened was he survived the incident. But something very strange happened. His personality changed, and his friends termed him as no longer Gage, because the Phineas they knew him before the incident was very gentleman kind of a person, was very good, whereas Phineas Gage, they knew him after the incident, was kind of a jerk. So this incident actually brought food to a lot of researchers and a lot of scientists, and they thought like there is something which gives rise to a personality, and which is there in the brain. So this the researcher stated that it provided the research with some rare hard evidence that a part of us that's initially been thought of as non-physical, our personality, is actually directly affected by what happens to us physically. So, but during that time, a lot of scientists and researchers were also not very shocked, because during that time there was a very dominant school of thought in Western philosophy, and that was known as physicalism. Or reductive physicalism, because it states that everything in the world could be reduced to physical entities. So it states that the world is made up only of physical stuff, and including us, and by this logic, everything about me and you can be explained in terms of our bodies, that is our brains, our hormones and neurotransmitters. So if this is true, if this physicalism is true, then Phineas Gage, the incident of Phineas Gage can be easily explained, because change in his brain brought about a radical change in his personality. But it would be also worthwhile to understand one of the great philosophers called René Descartes, who believed that there was also another component called the mind, and he gave us the view called cogito ergo sum, which meant I think and therefore I am. So it means that I exist and therefore the world exists. So this school of thought came to be known as dualism, where it says that the world is made of both physical stuff and mental stuff. And these dualists believe that the minds are a separate non-physical substance that cannot be reduced to or explained in terms of physical stuff like brains. So they believe that there were two components, and things like the existence of God and beliefs and faiths was mental stuff, whereas things like the rocks, the mountains, etc. was physical stuff, and they were separate, they didn't interact. But we humans are very unique, and some researchers came up with the belief, yeah, obviously these two has to interact. So there was two components. So they believed that the mind and the body interacted with each other, and the new school of thought came out, which is called Interactionism. And this is very evident because when we make up our mind do something, we can do that. So if we make up our mind to have a cup of tea or go for a walk, we can do that. And similarly, if our body is very tired, if you're very physically very tired, then we can't focus on some things. So that tells us that there are two entities and they both interact with each other. So, but to what level do they interact? The question is, to what level do they interact is a big puzzle. And this interaction gave rise to another school of thought, which is currently the most dominant school of thought where researchers and scientists are working on. And this is called the mind-body problem. So it states that there are two, three things which it works on. One is to what level the mind and body interact, and where is it the interaction happening. So is it the interaction is whether it's happening in the brain, or whether is it in the body, or whether it is happening somewhere else. And also to what level, the body influences the mind, and to what level the mind influences the body. So, and most interesting thing about this mind-body problem is, if we have a mind and if it's a separate entity, then why is it so that it is only attached to our own body? Why is it that we can't just, why can't our mind just go out of our body and then go into someone else's body and then find out like what it feels like to be in another body? Why is it that it's only attached to our body? And Rene Descartes gave a solution to this, but it just later discarded, because he said that the mind is attached to the pineal gland, which is located at the base of the brain, and all interactions happen at that part of the body. But it later discarded because the pineal gland itself is a entity. So finally, what I want to point out is that there are various theories and school of thoughts working on this mind-body problem, and all of this itself is a very vast area of research. And there are even more. Not only this, I have just mentioned 4 major ones, but there are even more. But what I want to point out is that no school of thought or no research has been able to give us some concrete answer to this mind-body problem. We are still in progress, and very soon we might have an answer to this, but we still await answers. So here I want to state that there is something also called the subjective experience, or qualia. So to understand this, let us go to a room which is called the marriage room. And this marriage room is a philosophical thought experiment which was done by a famous Australian philosopher called Frank Jackson. And according to this experiment, there is a room, and which is black and white, and there is a girl called Mary inside the room, and she learns things via a black and white screen. And eventually she grows up to become a neurophysicist, and she learns everything about color. So she knows the properties of color, she knows images, she knows optics, she knows wavelengths and everything. All theory that is possible to learn color, she knows everything. But one major thing which she doesn't know is she has never seen color in her entire life. So one day, Mary walks out of the room and she sees color for the first time. So what happens then? What goes into her mind? Is it something? Does Mary learn something new at the time? And Jackson proposes that yes, Mary learns something new, and this is her subjective experience. And he mentions that no theory or no reading can ever tell us what it feels like to have a subjective experience. So this was an argument against physicalism, but there were also thinkers who contradicted Frank Jackson, because they told that Jackson had already presumed the answer. So before doing this experiment, Jackson had already presumed that Mary would learn something new when she came out of the room, and that's why he has said that, but Mary might not have learned anything new. So this also states that, So there's also another experiment by a famous thinker called Nagel, and he wrote a treatise called "What Is It Like to Be a Bat?" And the entire conclusion of the treatise was that the entire experience of hanging down it can be experienced only by that specific bat itself. Even the other bat which is hanging near to that bat has its own subjective experience. So the entire limitation of this research, of this study about the human mind, is that we can never ever experience, we can never have an experience, we can never know what it feels like to be somebody else. We can never know what it feels like to be maybe Himanshu, or I can never know what it feels like to be Sugan sir or Lalit sir. in my entire life. I think that is the entire limitation of this study. But nevertheless, there is an importance, like the study of the mind will hold significance, because if we know the mind, it is because it is about the future of human mankind. And if we know the mind, then we can develop better machines, we can have better robots in the future. So I think, and man will never stop at this. And I think at some point of time in the history of mankind, we will be able to solve this mystery. So there are three things. The mind might reside inside the body, or mind might be somewhere else outside the body, we don't know. Or it might be a totally entirely different phenomenon, which is currently beyond human knowledge right now. But whatever it is, we can't deny something which you cannot see. Just because we can't measure it, just because we can't see it, we can't say that it's not there. The mind is something very sacred for us, and we should always respect it. That's it. Thank you.